why you need to, and I mean need to, demand the best out of every relationship you're in. Any relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, romantic relationship, whether it's a colleague at work, whether it's a platonic friendship, whatever it is, you must demand the best from that relationship. But why? Simply because you deserve it. Simply because you must nourish yourself with the friendships that you surround yourself with. I know in my life, every relationship that I've had, if I haven't put 100% of me in that relationship, if I haven't been in integrity, if I haven't been authentic, if I haven't been real in that relationship, the relationship has suffered. And here's the key point to all of this. I was thinking about this morning, and I was thinking about this last night around the importance of relationships and the importance of going all in, demanding the best, not only from ourselves, not only from the others that are involved, but from the relationship itself, really demanding the best. Now, in order to do that, and the only way to do that, we must show up fully. But here's the number one reason why we must demand the best that we can from any relationship is because we heal and we feel. We start to shift all the old paradigms. When we say, I'm going all in this relationship, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to be real, I'm going to set healthy boundaries, I'm going to show the fullness of myself, I'm going to ask for what I need, I'm going to be curious in the relationship, I'm going to explore new ways of being, maybe new attitudes, new beliefs. I'm going to argue differently, I'm going to disagree differently, I'm going to see the other person differently, and I'm going to allow them to see me. When we do that, we start breaking up the density of the past that sometimes holds us back. I speak often to this around the trauma that we have sometimes experienced as children and how that impacts and influences who we are as adults. And so we get this opportunity to start playing in a very real way in relationships, to start receiving what we didn't receive as children, to start giving what we weren't able to give as children. I want to give you an example. So in my childhood, part of my childhood, I grew up in a very volatile environment. I grew up in physical abuse. I grew up in emotional abuse. I grew up not knowing, I didn't really feel safe. So I didn't know one day to the next how my father would be, how my mother and father would be together. I didn't know how they would be with us, myself and my brother. And there was a lot of nervousness and tension. And so from that, I developed particular habits, particular ways to protect myself. Now, in those habits that I created, or coping strategies or protective strategies, I didn't only create protective strategies to physically protect myself. I created strategies to emotionally and psychologically protect myself. Because I started to witness that if I just stayed quiet, if I was out the way, if I didn't share my truth, and if I just sort of moved in the shadows, I would almost go unnoticed. And if I was unnoticed, I wouldn't be physically abused. I wouldn't be physically hit. Wouldn't be pounded upon. I wouldn't be judged. Wouldn't be critiqued. And so I got into this habit of hiding. Now, as a young kid, that worked for me. Going into my teenage years, that didn't work for me, and it was painful because I wanted to be accepted by my peers. I was forming my identity, I was going through puberty, hormones were racing. I didn't know who I was, and so I didn't want to hide anymore because hiding wasn't serving me. Started becoming more attracted to girls, started witnessing other boys getting girls and being intimate, but that wasn't happening for me because I was so shy. And so because I witnessed volatility and extremes in my upbringing, because I didn't feel safe, I went from one extreme to the other. So I became very outward in the world. I became almost aggressive as well. I was bullied a lot as a little kid. And so I became even a bully for a period of time. I really lashed out and I thought, well, that's the way to attract people to me. Because if they fear me like I feared my father, like I feared my environment, then I'd have respect. People would see me at least. Of course, that wasn't healthy. And I took a lot of that into my adult relationships. But I continued to have that mask of wearing the shadows. And so in my adult relationships, I would be disconnected. I would be living in the shadows. I would be telling lies. I was unfaithful in my relationships. I was consistently seeking validation and approval because I never received that as a kid. I was consistently seeking acceptance. And for me, it was being with as many women as possible. It was putting a facade on, oh, this is who I am, but really inside I was hurting, I was in pain. So many of us do this. And so how can I demand the best of a relationship when I wasn't demanding the best of myself? How could I heal those parts of me if I'm not bringing them into the relationship and being honest and having sincere reflections in my relationships, mirroring back to me who I could be and how I can heal myself? Because that's what relationships do. They help us understand ourselves. They don't heal us. They don't do the work for us. We do the work. We take the action. We make the decisions. We move through our own internal processes, our own journeys, our dark nights of the soul, our hero's journey. We go through that. However, our environment reflects back to us. And if you have people in your life that are all in and are also demanding the best of the relationship, and you get to demand the best of the relationship, and you both commit to that and you're open and transparent in that and you're willing in that space, magic can happen. The unknown can present itself as something known. You can begin to free yourself from the past, from what holds you back, from what you can't see within yourself. You know, part of that, and so for many of us, part of our journeys are we're not able to see ourselves as children because it's not reflected back to us with clarity. It's not reflected back to us with love and ease and grace because our parents, bless them, they're in their own struggles. Their inner child is still hurting. They haven't equilibrated, neutralized, and dealt with their past pains. And so maybe they're absent. Maybe they're not present. Maybe they're harsh in their tone. Maybe they're distracted. See, trauma resides on a scale. You needn't be or live in war-torn Somalia or experience horrific crimes against your body or your community to be classified as someone that's experienced trauma. Yes, that's traumatic. And to some degree, there are maybe scales. However, no one's trauma per se is more severe than the others, than someone else's. You may experience trauma as coming home and saying, look, mummy, look, daddy, I've got a B, and being really proud of yourself. And your parents' response is, why didn't you get an A? And maybe that is continuous in your life. And you bring that of never being enough in your adult relationships. You bring that energetic and you bring that mindset, the unconscious belief of that. And so how you behave will be dictated by this unconscious belief of you not being enough and maybe being overbearing in your relationships, maybe being a people pleaser in your relationships, maybe constantly focusing on goals and objectives and attaining and accumulating at the expense of being emotionally present and available in your relationships. Maybe one of your parents worked 16 hours a day and you never had their support, you never had their guidance when you were stuck. And so that you learned that habit. So in your relationships, all you do is work, all you do is distract, all you do is not be in the relationship. You never learn how to emote. You never learn how to disagree and be in the relationship. If you don't demand the best of the relationship, you won't get the best. And you'll be playing a mediocre game in life. You won't feel fulfilled. You won't carry meaning in your everyday actions. You will feel empty. I promise you. I felt empty for so long because I wasn't willing to look at my stuff. I wasn't willing to be present to the opportunities that existed in relationship. I thought relationships was just a thing that we do. I didn't realize, as I realize and believe now, and take this if it serves you, if it resonates and it hits for you, I'm throwing a ball up in the air, catch it. For me, relationships, intimate, deep relationships are a gateway and a pathway to enlightenment. And I really mean that. They are a gateway to enlightenment, to evolving our souls, evolving ourselves, breaking free of past pain and trauma and the experiences that have been very dense for us and intense for us. It's an opportunity to draw in people into our lives that have a capacity to reflect back to us, opportunities to go into the unconscious stuff that's really uncomfortable. That's the opportunity that we have. That's the opportunity relationship bestows upon us, but we have to go in demanding the best, demanding the most from a relationship. And that can be truly healing and freeing. And in that, if we're patient enough and willing enough, we can really feel our way through old pain, stagnant pain that's still in our lives today, unknowingly. Relationships can be deeply supportive. Now, relationships and the people in those relationships, they're not your therapist and you are not theirs. You are mirrors of each other navigating this complex ocean, this deep ocean of a complex psyche. Our emotions get tied up with our minds with our emotions and our bodies. You ever notice in relationships, sometimes people really agitate you, really frustrate you, and you think, well, I love them so much, why are they angering me so much? Why am I so upset? That's the double-edged sword. You need to care for them so deeply in order to feel the frustration, that underneath that frustration or that anger or whatever, that agitation or the trigger, the charge, whatever's underneath there is something for you, not something against you. How you respond and are reacting to that is what is for you. And that's the blessing of a relationship. Of course, there's so much more to that, but I'm going to stop there now. I want you to share your thoughts in this video. I want you to comment with what have been some of the biggest relationship lessons or life lessons you've learned through relationship. Share that below, above, left, right, wherever it is. And let's get this community working for each other, not against each other. Demand the best from who we are, but the only way we can do that, this has been a lesson that I've learned the very hard way, is when we demand the best from ourselves. Pound blessings to you people. I'll see you again soon.